Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wahy and its true nature. Since the Holy Quran was revealed to our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam by means of Wahy, that is, revelation, an understanding of some particulars about Wahy is imperative at the very outset. The need for Wahy. Every Muslim knows that Allah Almighty has sent man into this world as a matter of test. And in return for his being obligated with certain duties, the whole universe has been placed at his service. For this reason, once a man is in this world, must do two things. Number one, he should make the best use of this world and of things created in it. Number two, while using this world to his advantage, he should keep the injunctions of Allah Almighty in sight and do nothing that goes against his will and pleasure. For these two functions, man needs knowledge. Therefore, unless he knows the reality of this world, the properties of different things and the manner in which they can be put to use, he cannot use anything in this world to his advantage. Likewise, unless and until he knows the will of Allah Almighty as to what pleases him and what displeases him, it will be impossible for him to lead a life in line with the will of Allah Almighty. So, Allah Almighty, along with the creation of man, has created three things through which he could continue receiving knowledge of the above mentioned matters of concern. These three things are: number one, man's senses, that is the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth, the hands and the feet. Number two, the reason. And number three, the Wahy. Consequently, man finds out many things through his senses, many others through reason, and the knowledge of things he cannot get through these two sources are bestowed upon him through Wahy. The arrangement between these three sources of knowledge is such that each one has its own limits and a particular sphere of activity beyond which it doesn't work. In natural sequence, the knowledge of things man collects through his senses cannot be deduced through bland reason. For instance, you know by seeing a wall with your eyes that its color is white. But should you close your eyes and try to find out the color of that wall on the sole strength of your reason, this will then be impossible. Similarly, the knowledge of things that comes through reason cannot be discovered by senses alone. For instance, you cannot find out as to who made that wall by simply seeing it with your eyes or touching it with your hands. Not at all. You rather need reason to arrive at that conclusion. In short, reason gives no guidance as far as the five senses work efficiently. And when the five senses become helpless, reason starts functioning. But even the guidance given by this reason is not unlimited. This too stops at a certain limit. Then there are things the knowledge of which can neither be acquired through senses nor through reason. For instance, to find out about this very wall as to what manner of its use will please Allah Almighty and what manner of its use will displease him is possible neither through senses nor through reason. In order to give man the answer to such questions, the source that Allah Almighty has prescribed is what is known as Wahy. And the method it follows is that Allah Almighty selects one of his servants, sends him as his messenger, and to him he reveals his word. This word is Wahy. This makes it clear that Wahy is the highest source of knowledge for man, which offers to him the answer to questions about his life, which cannot be solved by means of reason and senses. But he still has to have that knowledge. This further explains that reason and perception alone are not enough to show man the way. It is rather all the more necessary almost inevitable that the divine Wahy be there for his guidance. Since Wahy is basically needed where reason doesn't work, it is therefore not necessary that everything communicated through Wahy be compulsively comprehended through reason. On the contrary, as reason is no help in finding out the color of some object, since that is the job of the senses, so is the knowledge of many religious beliefs, the gracious giving of which is the sole prerogative of Wahy and not of reason. Furthermore, trusting reason alone for their comprehension is not sound and correct. To begin with, it is totally senseless to discuss the issue of Wahy with a person who, God forbid, does not accept the very existence of God. But for a person who believes in the existence of Allah Almighty and has faith in His perfect power, it is not at all difficult to understand that Wahy is a rational need, that it is possible, and that it is therefore real. If you have faith in the fact that this universe has been created by an absolutely powerful entity, He is the one who has sent man down here to accomplish some particular mission. How then is it possible to imagine that He, after once having created man, would leave him off in total darkness, without ever telling him why did he come into this world, what his duties were, where was he destined to go, and how could he realize the purpose of his life? How could a person whose sanity is still there send one of his servants on a certain trip under a designated mission without ever telling him the purpose of the trip while he is leaving, nor explaining it to him later on through some message as to why he has been sent out there and what duties he is supposed to carry out during the trip? When a man of ordinary reason cannot do something like this, how can something like this be imagined with respect to the most holy Lord of the universe, under whose ultimate wisdom this whole system of the universe is functioning? After all, how is it possible that the being that did create such a mind-boggling system composed of the moon, the sun, the sky, the earth, the stars, and the planets would remain unable to institute some arrangement of communication with His servants, through which human beings could be given guidance about the purpose of their lives? If there is Iman or faith in the ultimate wisdom of Allah Almighty, then admitting that He did not forsake His servants in the dark will become all the more necessary. Rather, on the contrary, He has surely instituted some regular system for their guidance. And so this very regular system of guidance is known as Wahy, which is also called revelation, and Risala, which is also called prophethood. This makes it crystal clear that Wahy is not only a religious belief but also a rational need, the rejection of which amounts to a rejection of the ultimate wisdom of Allah Almighty.